going to call the meeting to order. Good evening. It is 7 p.m. This is the open meeting of the Community Preservation Committee, and it is being conducted remotely, consistent with Legislative Acts of 2021, Chapter 20, Section 20, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. This meeting is being convening by Zoom as posted on the meeting agenda. Please see the agenda on the town website for details on how to participate remotely. The link and the password are located there. This meeting will not feature public comment. For Zoom meetings, please note that it may be recorded and it may be published or rebroadcast. All participation within this meeting will be visible to others. And finally, all votes will be taken by roll call vote. So for attendance, we will start with Belanger.
Here.
Brock.
Here.
Gallagher.
Gallagher here.
Holberger.
Here.
Paget.
Here.
Scarlett.
Here.
Whitney.
Here.
Wood.
Here.
And Stevens here. So we have a full attendance. Great. The sole agenda item for tonight's meeting is to discuss and take any action necessary on 2 open meeting law complaints. And again, we will not be taking public comment. I'll remind everyone that because this is Zoom, if you could raise your hand on the Zoom feature so that we're not talking over one another. It's real difficult to see everybody all at once. I think maybe I'll switch that to where I can see everybody. I'm going to start. Paul Scarlett sent an email regarding the open meeting law complaint. And Paul, if you would like to begin with your email.
Yes. Thank you, John. So I did send in a letter and it was to advise of my intent to make a motion tonight to authorize John as our chair, send a letter in response to the 2 open meeting law complaints that were recently received by him. My motion will be for inclusion of the points that are going to be referenced in a document that I also sent, which I'm sure Joanne can share with us in a few minutes. But in addition to the points that are outlined in that document, the motion will also ask that a copy of the email that was sent by the town administrator to both Mr. Stevens and myself, in which he advised of his opinion that CPC had violated open meeting law at the select board's 3/15/22 meeting, be included as well. I feel it's important to provide the background of the situation that led to the 2 sitting CPC members filing an individual open meeting law complaint on each of their behalf, and not to simply supply the underlying reasoning for why the committee does not believe an open meeting law violation occurred, which appeared to have been it was the majority decision at our last meeting. This is really an unusual situation, to say the least, and in my opinion, providing this background information is really crucial to providing an understanding of what led to this entire situation. So also, I just will point out that my motion will be made with the understanding that the points referenced are certainly open to discussion by the committee tonight and subject to potential amendment as a result of that discussion. So with that said, I would like to motion on the following points. If you will share the screen, I can walk through them. What I thought we could do is just walk through them. I've numbered them so that it would be easy enough to go back and reference particular points that we may want to discuss. We can't hear you, Joanne. Still can't hear you.
Yeah,
There you go.
Oh, great. Which you're on.
Thank you.
And now I can see it. You're on mute. Before you couldn't even see that, but now you're on mute, John.
No, you're still muted.
Can you share the document, Joanne? Or did you have something you wanted to ask?
There we go.
All right, so my motion is going to be on each of these points. So I'm just going to walk through them again. They're numbered so we can easily go back after and discuss any individual points. I did put them in the order that I feel they need to be captured in the letter that we sent. So the intent was that, you know, we have enough verbiage in here that a letter should easily be able to be crafted from this. So number one, CPC did unintentionally have a quorum present at the select board meeting on 3/15/22, for which no posting of our presence had been done. Number two, no posting was possible as the committee was unaware that a CPC related item had been included on the select board's agenda until after the narrow 24-hour window in which we could have posted had already closed. CPC was not aware, this is number three, was not aware of this agenda item as the select board had not communicated to the committee about it. It should further be noted that the presence of all but one CPC member was for the sole reason of seeking clarification as to the purpose of this CPC related item. The fifth member present was there for the purpose of keeping informed on town matters since he is running for select board. While the select board chairman did point out, this is number four, that a majority of CPC members were present, she nonetheless proceeded to ask if CPC member Jim Gallagher wished to speak. Number five, ultimately, 4 of the 5 CPC members present spoke individually and only to the select board's posted agenda item, quote, CPC membership / bylaw amendment. Of important note here is that committee membership, oh, it's just shrunk in size on me. Sorry. I lost my place. Please stop moving it. Let me find my place again.
Number 5,
Four.
second line.
Thank you. Of important note here is that committee membership policies, appointments, and bylaws are not the purview of CPC, but rather reside with the select board. Number 6, CPC subsequently received a letter from the town administrator on 3/17/22, attached, indicating that it was his belief that 1, open meeting law had unintentionally been violated by virtue of there being a quorum of CPC members present, and 2, that deliberation had occurred. 7, the TA's letter encouraged CPC to self-report this matter to the Attorney General's office with the added caveat that he would do so if CPC did not. Number 8, it is important to note there is an exception to open meeting law that allows for a quorum of members of one board / committee to sit in on another committee's meeting without a posting being done, provided they communicate only by open participation and do not deliberate. Let's scroll down, please. I'll wait till you get, all right, thank you. Number 9, the definition of deliberation is as follows, quote, an oral or written communication through any medium, including electronic mail, between or among a quorum or of a public body on any public business within its jurisdiction, end quote. Number 10, CPC discussed this matter at its 3/24/22 meeting, wherein a discussion on whether open meeting law had been violated occurred. The TA was present and offered insight into his opinion that deliberation had occurred due to a quorum of CPC members being present and expressing opinions on matters within CPC's jurisdiction. Number 11, a motion was made by Planning Board Representative Justin Wood and seconded by Richard Whitney to have CPC proceed with self-reporting this matter to the Attorney General's office. Mr. Wood also made it clear of his intent to file a complaint on his own if his motion were not to pass. Discussion on this matter ensued, and the motion was ultimately defeated by a 3-6 vote. Number 12, CPC Vice Chair Jim Gallagher also advised he would personally be filing a complaint in which he intended to accept personal responsibility in this matter as the ranking CPC member present at the incident in question. He also personally expressed his apologies to the town administrator, select board, and CPC members. Number 13, Mr. Wood's complaint was subsequently received by CPC Chair John Stevens on 3/29/22. Mr. Gallagher's complaint was received by Mr. Stevens on 3/30/22. Number 14, CPC met on 4/6/22 to discuss the aforementioned open meeting law complaints. A vote was taken to authorize the CPC chairman to send a response to both complaints. Said response is to include the information outlined in items 1 through 13 above and further state in summary that the committee does not believe a violation of open meeting law occurred. Comments made by CPC members present took place individually and only in response to the select board's posted agenda item. There was no discussion between CPC members, and comments made were solely focused on a matter that does not fall within CPC's jurisdiction. Therefore, by MGL, Mass General Law definition, CPC members did not deliberate and no open meeting law violation occurred. So I would motion that we accept what I have written and authorize the CPC chair to draft a letter leveraging this as outlined.
I have a motion by Paul Scarlett. Do I have a second? And I can't see.
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. So I'll open it to discussion, and I don't know if the best way to do this is I'll just go down the list. If you'd like to comment, feel free, this is your opportunity. You'll certainly have another opportunity, but just to go through our member list. And if you don't have anything right now, just say that you don't have anything to say right now. Kristen.
I don't know. I need a little bit of time to process, but for the
Sure.
most part, I agree with what Paul's saying. I don't think it was a violation. I don't think there was any malicious intent behind the board members attending. It was an oversight. It was a mistake that was in result of a previous mistake of the select board not notifying the board. If they knew ahead of time they were going to be on the agenda, we would have posted the public meeting and it wouldn't be an issue. So it was just a series of mistakes. The point that Paul made, I thought I read somewhere in situations like specifically like town meeting, it happens where boards are attending a public meeting. There may be a quorum, but it's not considered a violation of open meeting law if they haven't had a meeting of their own posted. And I think this would fall in that situation where they weren't deliberating with each other. They were speaking to the board and all of the people at the meeting. So I agree.
Okay, thank you. Sandy.
Okay, so first I'm going to start by saying I end up writing a lot of letters and communication that have either contractual or legal implications, whether it's permitting, issues on sites and all these different things. So I have a very technical writing approach to when I do things. And so my first general question is, who is this going to and what is the format into it? And then I have just a lot of editorial things. Things like you should reference a definition. If you're defining something, you need to reference where it's coming from. And if it is referenced in, Massachusetts, general law, is it part of the regulations, those type of things. Whenever you use, this is being picky, but this is, again, my experience, and people can tell me it's just not needed here. But whenever you start using things like TA for town administrator, I would suggest that person be named and not an initial. I would also say there's a couple of examples of superlatives. if we're doing a fact-based type of a letter, I would say take the superlatives out there. And I got one example if you want to do that. The other big thing is always use active voice, meaning when you say something is happening, tell who's doing it and who said it, as opposed to inferring who said it or who did it, or having to have the reader guess which subject that's actually referring to. And those are kind of, that to me is a lot of the things I saw. I am happy to go through it and kind of do that. I don't know if that's kind of a separate process where it's more editorial. I mean, overall, I think, you're trying to put out there, what happened as far as the sequence goes, what kind of different people opinions were. And I think whenever you're talking opinion, you need to assign it to someone. Or if you're talking about someone saying or doing something, you need to assign it to someone instead of the general CPC. So to me, when you start going a written form, always remember written form is hard. It's black and white, it's hard. And everyone who's reading it is going to read it in different ways. And so what you do from a technical standpoint is you keep it as simple and as fact-based as possible. Just tell the truth of what happened, but just don't editorialize or testify in that process. So that's kind of my take on it. Happy to hear what other people say. I mean, I'm being really picky here, but I'm only being picky because of the process that we're going through. So.
A lot of good points. Thank you, Sandy. Jim.
I am going to be going forward with a motion on my own with the compliance form that I filled out and sent in. 2 points that I want to make is that number one is that this should not be a big deal. This should not be something that derails our committee. It should not be something that divides our committee. It should not be something that has the town look down on us and the very good work that we do. The second point is this, is that number one on that letter is you don't have to go any further than that. Number one on your very well thought out message there, Paul, was that there were 5 members of the CPC who were present at a select board meeting. All right. Now, I think that if we were to go forward with my complimentary, whatever the hell it's called, the complaint form, it acknowledges the fact that we had 5 members there. We did it by mistake. There was no intention to do that. I am the ranking member and I take full responsibility for the accidental open meeting violation, and then let that go through to the Attorney General for whatever action they may take. This is something that could just blossom, and it could truly destroy what we're doing as a committee. This was an oversight. It was a mistake. Let's acknowledge it and let's move on. Thank you.
Thanks. Ken.
I am in general agreement with the points made. I think that whether or not there was a violation of the open meeting law is basically opinions of various parties to it. And in the opinion expressed here, and which I agree to, the participation of 5 members was inadvertent and unknown in advance to anybody who was there. The deliberations that were made at the meeting were not of any CPC business. There was no speaking of grants, no speaking of funding, no speaking of warrants. The only topics spoken of were, as the letter points, as the points make, were select board business. Unfortunately, a number of people in town, including apparently most of the select board now, quite firmly, are of the opinion that it was an open meeting law violation. But nevertheless, these are opinions. I think that to augment the points made in Paul's notation might be a point saying that the committee does recognize that this is a near miss on an open meeting law, that you should emphasize that, which, it's covered, but you should emphasize that it was unintentional. But you might also recognize that the committee is learning from this and is resolved not to come so close and make such a mistake again.
Good, thank you. Brooke.
Okay, if I'm going to comment on Paul's narrative. I guess I'll echo Sandy a little bit that I think it's too long and adds a little bit too much. I would stick straight to the facts. And the way I see it, it's not our meeting. The 5 people ended up there by chance. The issue wasn't under our jurisdiction, and we didn't deliberate. I also kind of agree with Jim that it has potential to derail this committee, but we're confusing 2 things. There was a quorum, but that in and of itself is not a violation of anything unless there's deliberation. And when the town administrator came in and said to us, we had to file a complaint against ourselves for something which I would argue we did not do incorrectly. We were not in violation for the 4 things I just put out. It wasn't our meeting. We were there by chance. It wasn't under our jurisdiction, and we didn't deliberate. That's what elevated it. This committee has not elevated anything. We sat in that meeting. We came there. We wanted to find out what was going on. The chair asked us to speak. And the very next day, we get a letter from the town administrator saying, you committed an open meeting violation, agreeing now with Ken, that's an opinion, and you must file a complaint against yourself or I will do it. In my opinion, the town administrator should have done it. Why Justin Wood, who wasn't even there, decided he should file it, or why Jim felt he should file it. It was a quorum, sure, that is absolutely true. But there are exemptions to quorums, and Paul set them out. And one of them is, you can go to a meeting that's not yours and you can speak as long as you don't deliberate on something you have control over. We did not have control over it. We did not deliberate. I wish the town administrator had maybe read the rules, had read the open meeting law guide, which spells that out and gives the definition of deliberation, or perhaps called the chairman of the CPC and said, hey, you're getting close to being in a violation there. He didn't do that. He wrote us an email and said, you are in violation. You better tell on yourselves, claim responsibility, apologize, or I'm going to do it. That's the elevation, Jim. That's why we are here. We are here because we showed up at a meeting that the Board of Selectmen had put on their agenda, did not notify us. 3 of us showed up. 1 person happened to be there and another person came. And we asked the question, what is this doing on the agenda? And for that, the town administrator said, I'm going to file an open meeting law violation on you. I don't see how this is valuable in the public good. I don't see how this helps committees. I don't see how this is the way to get people to participate in town government. And I am not going to apologize for anything. I did not do anything wrong, and I'm not going to agree to say that I did. Now, if the complaint has been made, we'll put in our, what I believe, we put in our response. If the Attorney General says, yes, you people were wrong, okay. Well, then I've read the open meeting law guide incorrectly. And then when the Attorney General says we're wrong, I'll apologize and say, okay, I was wrong. Up until then, I have a town administrator's opinion. I have Justin Wood's opinion. I have Jim Gallagher's opinion. And I have my own opinion. And I'd rather have somebody who wrote the guide on open meeting law, look at what we did and tell us. I mean, I think it's a good thing to know. We should know in the future. Can people come to a meeting that isn't under their jurisdiction and not deliberate, be there by chance, and still be held to a violation of the open meeting law? And I'm not going to go by Jim, Justin, or the town administrator's opinion. That's me. Now, to go back to what we're reporting, what we're responding to, I know what Paul's trying to do. He's trying to flesh it all out, but I agree with Sandy. It's a lot. And I wouldn't mind having, she seems to understand it, to have her look at it and kind of pare it down a little bit, because I don't think we need more than to follow their own guidelines. And their guidelines lay it out when it's not a violation.
Thank
So
you.
I'm all for going forward.
Okay. Paul, you've already had opportunity to comment. Do you wish to comment further at this time?
I would just add that I am more than willing and appreciative of any assistance Sandy can have to tweak the document.
Okay. Rich. And you're muted.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, this is my opinion. I've been going there since February. And I do believe that we did have a quorum, okay, which we did. Number two, we did talk, and I talked too, in the open meeting laws. And I should have filled out a paperwork myself, because as running for selectman, I did something wrong. But also, I want to get back to the last meeting before I forget this in my mind. Brooks said that he talked to the AG's office and said, tell the town administrator don't file because nothing happened. Well, just now he's saying all this other stuff. Now, am I calling something wrong here, or did I hear something wrong? Please advise me. And he's going by the manual he has in his hand and saying, this. I think Justin did right, and I think Jim did right by doing this and bringing this up forward. But I want clarification of who, before I go any further and think about this, because I voted against all of yous, and I wanted it to be sent off as a group. Okay, and Brooke said, and I quote again, that you did say that you talked to the AG's office. I'd like to know who you talked to in the AG's office that you said at the meeting in public. Or is this just, excuse the language, people, a BS from Brooke? If it is, why should we believe Brooke at all? I'm being honest.
Do you want to ask that to Brooke? Brooke?
Yes, I would love to ask that. Brooke, who did you talk to?
Well, you got to go through me, Rich. Sorry. Brooke, would you answer his question, please?
First of all, this isn't about me, Richard. And the way you can decide if it's BS is respond to the complaint and have them respond. Doesn't matter who I spoke to. Doesn't matter if I talked to Maura Healy. I spoke to someone. They said they thought that this was, and I think so too. And I think even the town administrator must think, if this is a waste of resources, it doesn't accomplish anything. I don't know what the value of it is, and I don't think they want to spend their time reviewing it. That being said, Jim filed a complaint, Justin filed a complaint, so now I think we should follow through and get their answer. So it doesn't matter who, maybe I spoke to the attorney of the day, but it doesn't matter who I spoke to. Let's submit it and they can respond to it. And that will answer your BS question.
Okay, Rich, I know that's not exactly what you wanted, but did that answer your question?
I think if the shoe was on the other foot, any one of yous asked me who I talked to, okay? And I
Okay,
talked to somebody.
we're kind of getting off the point.
No, I
the point-
understand that,
No,
but the thing is,
I don't want this to go on and get way off on tangents.
no,
You ask him a
this is only
question.
one question.
Nope, you ask him a question and he didn't answer the way you wanted. You wanted a name, he didn't give it to you.
Okay,
So, but what he did say is, which I agree, we need to let this process play out.
right, we needed to play out, but the thing is, if one of us sends this in, which two of them already did, as soon as they get the response back, or if we get any response back, to be notified, who did you talk to? Basically, just like anything else, you always should write it down. That's all I want to say.
Okay, thank you. And I don't want you to think I'm cutting you off. I'm just trying to keep us really focused on the complaint.
No,
And-
I understand about the complaint, and I am livid too, because I know I was in the wrong too.
Yeah, no, well, I think I appreciate that you're willing to say that, but I think this was a minor transgression on a lot of people's part. This is a error upon error upon error, and we're trying to fix it. That's
Yeah,
what we're doing
That's what
tonight.
I agree. I don't want to
That's
go
what
Can I
on.
just say one, listen, I don't want to beat that. I think we've got some direction here, but we keep saying we've made a mistake. I know Kristen said we made a mistake. There's all these mistakes, minor transgression, da, da, da. Having a quorum in a room is not a big deal unless you violate some other provision, which is deliberation under your jurisdiction. The fact we have 5 people in a room is not in and of itself a violation. As people have pointed out, you can be at a party and all of a sudden 5 of you are there, and it's not an open meeting violation because we all happen to be at a party. That's not a mistake. That's not, we were there by chance. We didn't violate anything. We're acting as though we've done something. This is part of the problem. We've been told we've done something wrong and that we have to apologize for it. And yet all we have is opinions. We have now Richard Whitney's opinion. So he thinks we've done something wrong. Jim Gallagher thinks we did something wrong. Justin
Okay, now
Woodford,
you're
and the
repeating.
administrator.
Okay, I'm going to stop you, Brooke. Brooke,
Okay,
I'm
so
going
all
to
I'm
stop
saying
you.
is
You
let's-
keep repeating. We've heard
Okay,
it.
so all I'm
Thank you.
saying is let's let the people who know what they're talking about
Agree.
decide that we've done something wrong, and then we'll take punishment if that's what has to happen.
I agree. And I probably misspoke. And the opinion that matters to me as well is what the Attorney General says. So that being said, I just added my 2 cents. Justin.
All right, so I'll just start by saying, since I'm one of the ones that filed and are getting a response from this committee, I'm going to abstain from voting on this. I'm also going to abstain from most discussion. The only thing I want to add is I believe the response to the AG's office in relation to the complaints should include a response specifically to the actions that me and Jim suggest the committee take. That's all I want to articulate.
All right, I have a point of order.
And there's a hand raised that Sandy made earlier, and I need to circle back to her. I'm sorry, Jim, and then I'll address yours, okay?
I was just going to follow up on what a few people said, and we can sit here and go through kind of some of the minutia of what happened and why and who and what our opinions are. But I think it's fairly evident. I think we would all say that we want to continue on and get a resolution. And the way to do that is to go through this process. And if we learn something, then it was worth the effort. And it doesn't matter what they say or what they come back with as far as a ruling. The way I look at this is, and I wasn't there, but I still look at it as an opportunity to do what I like to do, which is to be a little bit civic minded and participate in town government. It'll just teach me something else. It's one of the reasons why I sit on the Conservation Commission. Even though I've been in the business for 30 years, I always learn something new. So if we can kind of take this as a process of all of us getting to know a little bit more about something and learning by it. And, as I say to young engineers all the time, you'll learn more from a mistake than you'll ever learn from a success. And so let's just kind of look at it, and whether the details behind it, I think, is less important. other than moving forward in learning something. So that's all I was going to add.
Great, thank you. Jim, sorry.
No worries. I have a concern about the process itself in that I still would like an opportunity to enter my my documentation and get a hands up or a hands down vote on that. But I'm a little concerned about the process in that the instructions on the cover of the open meeting law complaint form are very clear about the distribution in that here's what's supposed to happen is that the complaint form is completed. A copy goes to the chairman of the committee, that is John Stevens, and a copy goes to the town clerk. Excuse me. At that point, within 15 days, the committee has to come together and decide what their course of action will be. What my concern is on Justin's, is that Justin also sent his complaint directly to the Attorney General. And I'm concerned that there may be something that's going on down there that shouldn't be going on. And the only thing I'm going on, Justin, is just in reading what you had sent on the letter and so forth. If in fact it did go there, then I think that has to be withdrawn, and then I'll be a happy boy. But I do plan on going forward with mine as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Justin.
I'll just speak to that briefly. I did, as I put in my cover letter, interpret our last meeting as essentially a response to the event itself. That's why I did send it to the open meeting Attorney General's department. I did get a response today that said very succinctly, the committee has 14 business days to offer a response. And that was all they gave me. I didn't hear anything else. So they are, my read of that cover letter and my read of the email I received is that they are going to be following the process as we are following it today.
Okay,
Thank you.
but you agree that you really shouldn't have sent it to them, right?
I made a judgment call on my interpretation, and I believe that their response to me indicates that you are correct in this situation.
We're learning a lot tonight, more than we ever wanted to know. We're all a little attorney generals running around.
Currently, excuse me, just no, that was not a contradiction, Justin, or anything like that, but I was just concerned that there might be paperwork hanging around down there, but you've already relieved that concern, so thank you.
I was not going to mention it at all, but because you had that concern, I felt it was worth mentioning.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second by Paul Scarlett regarding his 13 point plus the 14 that summarizes tonight's meeting. Is there any further discussion on this? Because Jim, I believe, also would like to make his own proposal. And it looks like a lot of people are trying to talk. So we're still going to discuss. And I'm going to start with Paul. And I'm sorry, I'm just going to go, if the screen's going to jump around, but Paul, Brooke, Rich, Sandy. So we'll start with Paul.
So I'm perfectly willing to amend my motion to request that Sandy work her magic with the letter. The only question I would have with that is, will that require us then, though, to meet again to review it, or can we authorize the chairman to accept what she provides without us having to meet again?
I would think that would be your motion, to say in consultation with the chairman, Sandy, and I would draft this letter that would focus on the points that are presented, whether it's point one or points 1 through whatever. That's how I would amend your motion.
All right, so amended and
Before you do that, though, before you start amending a motion, we have several hands that I need to discuss.
Okay.
So before, I'll come back to you. Rich, you're next.
Okay, I just want to read something like Jim just said off the open meeting law complaint form. It says that we have 14 days that it has to be to the chair and to the municipal clerk, okay? The complaint. Then after that, instructions, okay, is the public body must meet to review the complaint within 14 days, usually 20 to 22 calendar days. After reviewing it within 14 days, the public body must respond to the complaint in writing and must send a response and determination of any actions a public body has taken to address this allegation of complaint. At the same time, the body must send the Attorney General a copy of the complaint and a copy of the response. The public body may delegate this responsibility to an individual member of public body or consultant or staff member.
That's counsel, not consultant.
Sorry about that. I'm reading from a distance and my eyes are foggy.
And
Does
you're
not
old.
say member.
It may request an extension of time, but basically it's saying we got 20 days. We have, whatever we do, we can resolve it here and send it in. And we have to do that from the date that it occurred, 14 days. That's what I'm trying to get through. Okay?
And I think we're within that guideline, so we're doing our job.
Yep,
So
no
far we're
problem. I just
staying
wanted to
on track.
clarify what Jim said to make sure
Timing-wise.
Jim didn't send it in. He didn't have to.
Okay. Sandy, did I let you speak?
Not yet. Mine
Okay.
is actually, Paul already kind of talked about this. And I'm happy to help, but I don't want to be, I am not an attorney. So I don't want to pretend to be an attorney. I don't mind doing, a little wordsmithing and provide some, and it's more just format and editorial stuff. It's not really changing the intent, but as far as that process go, I definitely want someone else to look at it after I, take a thing, because I don't want to change any of the meaning or intent. It's really just the format and so forth. That's all. And I
Okay.
also will want to take a look at the actual regulations and the forms just to make sure, because whenever you're replying to something on a regulatory basis, you start with the regulations and that's how you respond. So.
Okay, thank you. Ken, I see has his hand up.
All right, I would like to reiterate what one other member said about the content of the letter. And that is, in my words, that we should focus on the unintended quorum, the unexpected quorum, on the lack of deliberations on CPC business, and then omit the back and forth of how we came to be at that meeting. The talk about, the notice given or not given to the CPC, and in general, just the back and forth pieces could be just omitted. They're not really pertinent to the issue. And in addition to being decisive, they're not relevant.
Okay, thank you. Jim.
And one more thing, and acknowledge that the committee recognized the nearness of a near miss of violation, and a commitment not to come so close in the future.
Okay, thank you. Jim, you're next.
Okay, just before I say what I was going to say, Sandy, if you look at that attachment that Joanne sent out a couple of days ago, it has a blank form on there. And that covering letter is the thing that you were talking about that you'd like to see.
Yep.
That's the one that says,
I appreciate it. I did just scroll through it, but I haven't looked at it
Okay.
yet. Yeah.
all right.
Thank you.
The reason I have my hand up is that I'd like to find out if we are going to have an opportunity to have all of these motions considered before we vote, because I would like to think that after all is said and done, and if we sit back and wonder if this is a case of ego or if this is a case of let's just get it done and get it out of the way. I'm still, and I will talk when we come to the discussion on my motion of the importance of revitalizing, and I hate to have to use that word, but revitalizing the appearance of the Community Preservation Committee, because right now we have had a lot of bad press. There's been a lot of bad feelings, and right, wrong, or indifferent. The bottom line is I think that we are better off in just saying, let's address this, let's put it behind us, and then let's do the job that we were either appointed or elected to do. And I plead with you, let's just put it behind us and not drag this on 1 minute longer. I am fully willing to step up, to take full responsibility, and just go on from there. So thank you, but I'm hoping that I can get my motion on the floor before we vote on this.
Okay, I'm gonna have to ask for somebody's more wise opinion than mine. If there's a motion on the table and a second, we do, unless the proponent withdraws the motion, we have to vote on it, correct? So if we have to vote on it, and so they say we vote, let's just say we
Okay.
voted yes. If you have an alternative motion, do we still entertain that motion, even though they're kind of competing motions that you could say, one could say one thing, one could say the other, and you say yes to both? I'm not sure how that gets handled.
I'm thinking that maybe at the end of the day, we decide which way we go. But I just
Or
want to
do-
have a chance to be heard.
As part of the discussion, does Jim need to say, I propose an alternative motion, and is that out of, or should that be ruled out of order? I'm not Mr. Robert Rules of Order. If anybody has some guidance, I'm happy to. Jim, do you want to share what?
I have my hand up, John.
Okay, wait just a second. Jim, did you share exactly what you wanted to say if you had a chance to have your motion, other than that you just wanted to accept full responsibility, that these are the one or two things that we want to do moving forward to try to prevent potential open meeting law violations happening in the future? Is that kind of in a nutshell what you were planning to say?
Well, probably, but I always like to get the TV time. So
Well, I'm sure we'll give it to you.
I like to do that, but also just to point out that but I'm just, bottom line, we had 5 people there. I was the ranking officer who were there. My military background says that this is not Lieutenant Calley here. The ruling officer should have to stand up for the decision that was made. I am willing to do that, and I'd like to do that just so this can be over and people can stop talking adversely about the CPC. That's
Okay,
all.
thank you. Paul.
I did want to point out that I just forwarded to Joanne the open meeting law guide that I referenced with the definitions that I provided, and I believe it's the same one that Brooke was holding in his hand a little while ago. I'm open to doing it either way. If I don't want to withdraw my motion if I can't revisit it, but I would, I'm not sure I completely understand Jim's motion, and if his motion includes us saying that we were in the wrong on this, I would not be in favor of it.
No, my motion says I was in the wrong. I take responsibility. No one else is mentioned in my complaint form. No other name is on there. The question is specific person or persons, if any, you allege committed the violation, and I have on there me. No one else is going to be asked to make an apology. No one has to say that it was right, wrong, or indifferent. I take full responsibility, and I just want to end it and get on with our business of being a CPC.
So, I wish that this hadn't happened, Jim. I certainly did not want or envision where we are today. However, I am not of the opinion that there was a violation. I don't think that we know that there was a violation. I don't know there was a violation. In fact, I think the opposite, based on the fact that what was outlined, that there was no deliberation that occurred on a matter that was within our jurisdiction. The matter that was discussed was a posted agenda item of the select board, which is completely within their purview. You don't have any say on anything to do with memberships, reappointments, bylaw changes. We don't do that. That's select board. And that's what we were talking to. So if your motion includes anything saying that you were in the wrong, you're apologizing, I don't think any of us wanted this to happen. And I don't mind including verbiage, and I think other people have expressed including verbiage along those lines. But if it includes saying that we were wrong when we don't know we were wrong, I cannot support that.
Okay, thank you. Sandy?
Yeah, I'm just going to reiterate, Jim, I appreciate, trying to step up and do that, but we're a committee. And so we'll all learn from this process. And from my opinion is let's not guess, let's not give our opinion on what, the AG's office is going to say, having dealt a lot with permitting and different things. I'm always surprised what the state comes back with on certain things. Is let them tell us. There are some things, whether it's ethics, and we are always reaching out to the ethics committee when it's related to my profession, and I'm always shocked at how much they let us do, which I would never do. So let us put down the facts and let us be told, and let us express how we feel, and the fact that we're going to learn from this process, and we'll all learn from that. And even though I appreciate the thought here, I think we should just do it as a committee and just say what happened, and let the chips fall, and we'll all do better for just moving ahead with that.
Okay, thank you. I think there might be a question from the audience, but as we mentioned earlier, there will be no discussion, public discussion at this meeting at this time. So I'm hearing a couple of different things. One, and it's honorable, Jim, that you want to take responsibility, but I also agree with what Sandy said. I think the state needs to tell us. I think the point of this exercise is to say there were 5 people present, 5 people is a quorum. That's a fact. We were asked questions by the chairman of the Board of Selectmen. That's a fact. We do not, and then this is an opinion. We do not believe, or there is, it's unclear whether there was discussion, deliberation. Some people think there was, some people think there was not. So I think that's kind of the deliberation is where we're kind of, that's where the test is on this, because the 5, we crossed that line, but the deliberation, we need the Attorney General to tell us by answering their questions that were directed to us or to the people attending, does that constitute deliberation? Because I don't think we can answer that, or we can answer it all day long, but they could disagree with us. And I think it's critical what they say in terms of what we did, whether it was right, wrong, and they're the ones that have the final say. How does that sound, Jim, is that?
Well, I just want us to get back to what we do for a living, sit around a campfire, sing Kumbaya, and just put this behind us. That's what I'd like to do.
Okay, well, I
So-
think we all want that. I want that
All
more
right,
than
then let's
anybody.
just vote. But I would like to put my motion out there. If you want to take this and have a vote on this, and then let me make a motion, and then take a vote on that, then it'll probably all come out the same way anyway. So I don't know. We're CPC people. We're not going to be running a town meeting anytime soon.
No.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
If nothing else, I fixed my microphone problem.
Hey,
I think you have to handle the motion that was on the floor.
okay. All right, so the motion on the floor, do you want to amend your motion to kind of downsize it, Paul?
Yeah, I would like to amend my motion to indicate that Sandy Brock will take the document that I provided and wordsmith it to address the points that she raised in her first comments when John went around. And I guess that's it.
Okay, but you want to include all 13 points. Where'd you go?
Subject to her wordsmithing.
Yeah, again, I'm going to try not to change the intent, just mainly do some clarification. And if I have a question, I can ask it, and just mainly do active voice and try to keep to what the facts are and so forth.
And I would also amend it to say that, and forgive me because I don't remember the exact verbiage, but Ken and Brooke both brought up bringing up a reference to indicating that, Ken, maybe you can reiterate the point that you made, because I'm not the massacre.
He can do that after Justin. Justin has his hand up.
Okay.
Just as a brief point of order, I don't believe we can delegate an editing responsibility of this letter to anyone other than a staff member or legal counsel, according to what is on the open meeting law cover sheet that describes what we can do.
Can you read that again? Can we look at that cover sheet?
It'd be on Jim's form. I didn't include it on my filing, so it'd be on Jim's.
Well, I think what the motion here is that we are going to have, he's making a motion, it's just being cleaned up, and we know basically what the elements are. So
my point is that it just says the public body may delegate the responsibility to an individual member. Oh, I take that back. I misread that part. I withdraw my point.
Thank you.
And then just reading on, it's gone, but it said if the complainant is not satisfied with the response, then you send it to the Attorney General. It seems like the Attorney General does not want to know about this unless you can settle this locally. Once the public body has responded to the complaint, if you are not satisfied with the public body's response to your complaint, you may file a copy of the complaint with the division by mail, email, or by hand, but only after you've waited 30 days after filing the complaint with the public body.
John, read the third bullet.
The division will not, at the same time, the body must send the attorney a copy. Okay, gotcha. Oh, so you're notifying them, but it's basically saying we're letting you handle this, and if you still aren't satisfied, then we want to know, then we want to get them, then we will get involved, it sounds like.
I believe what it's saying, John, is that if the complainant is not satisfied with our response, they can then notify the Attorney General.
Right.
In the meantime, our response will already have been filed with the Attorney General, so they will have it on hand for them to be able to review as they address the follow-up, should it proceed to that point.
that it looks like we're to respond, and with our response, we respond to Jim, we respond to Justin, just to Jim and Justin, and also the Attorney General when we have this letter to respond. Okay. I can't, let's see, did somebody, Ken, I'm sorry.
Paul, can you put the points up again?
That would be Joanne.
14 points, or whoever has them, put the 14 points up again. My impression was there were a number of points that were not pertinent to the issue and we could omit them.
Yeah, if we want to go, that's why I put the number so we could go through line by line. Maybe that's the easier approach, and then leave it to Sandy to wordsmith after that.
That would
Do
be
we-
helpful. That would be helpful, actually.
So are we going to vote line by line, include or exclude? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, I think it's his motion, so let him decide what he wants in there.
Yeah, I'd like to hear your input, and then you can ask me if I agree to remove or whatever.
I'm scanning it right now.
My input is that we don't go beyond number 1. Paul, that's what you call sarcasm.
That's all right, Jim. I still love you, bud.
Back at you.
Okay,
It seems like
I'm not seeing a point that I thought, that I think that could be easily omitted, but let's see.
8 seems to have some, because it's saying this is an exception.
Yeah,
I think that's an important point to make, because that is why it's not an open meeting law violation. I would not be supportive of removal of that.
And my take on that is a statement like that is fine as long as it's referenced or footnoted to where you're getting that information.
Yeah, and I did just, as I mentioned, send
Yep.
the guide
Yeah,
to
you said
Joanne.
that. Yeah.
okay, I don't see any point that that I thought I saw before, so I withdraw my comment.
So we're definitely going to include number 1. 8 with footnotes. Is that it?
What did you say? I didn't follow
Number
that.
1 and number 8 with footnotes.
I don't know what you mean by that.
That Sandy said that if you're going to put that in there regarding deliberation, to footnote that's Mass General Law.
Yeah, just
says-
reference it. That's
No,
all.
I totally agree with that. That's the wordsmithing that I
Yep.
think that she could provide.
You'd start out with according to Mass General Law, chapter blah blah blah. There's an exception to open meeting law, that so on and so forth. You're just you're restating the law. That's all you're saying. You're not making a comment.
I think I'm remembering Ken, and sorry, Ken.
Okay, I guess I do see what I was looking at on item number 3. You could shorten up the first sentence and just say the presence, it started at where it says the presence of all but one CPC member was for the sole reason, and eliminate the first sentence and the first phrase of the second sentence in item 3.
But I think that's really, it's irrelevant. Why anybody?
That's why it's
They could have
irrelevant.
been in the wrong room,
Right, it's irrelevant.
That could have been me.
That part's
I'm in the
irrelevant.
wrong room.
You can simply start out saying that the presence of all but one member was for the sole reason. Start
But-
there.
Then I'm
in
very
agreement with that.
confused. So Paul, is your assertion that you still want to include all these points?
I thought we were going by them one by one and discussing whether or not we were going to include them. We're talking
So
about.
my recommendation is that you truncate the beginning of point number 3.
And, you know, that is to me, a valid point, but I don't think that it would, you know, significantly change the meaning or intent of the letter. So I would not be opposed to that. The item I remember that Ken had brought up before was just to include some type of reference that we, you know, want to learn from this, and, you know, that's something to that extent that Ken had mentioned before. And I think Brooke referenced it too. Either of you can elaborate on that point, because I don't think it was speaking to what's here, but it was an additional item that you wanted to include in the letter.
Brooke, did you want to speak to that?
No, I don't remember saying that. I mean, everything he's written down, I know it gives a better roundness to it and more of a narrative and a story. I like it when it's much shorter and just gets to the point, like Sandy was saying. So I'm comfortable with Sandy just looking at it and paring it down. I think Paul's got too much. If all that stuff was included, I'm fine with it. I think it would be better if it was smaller. I like to have the town administrator's email attached to it. That's about all. I think it's fine either way. I mean, I think Sandy's made some good points, and let her look at it. But everything that Paul's written down, you know, if it went in this way, I wouldn't have a problem with it, but I wish it was shorter.
Okay, Paul, so it sounds like, unless other people want to comment on what should be excluded from the 13 points, that it sounds like your motion will include the 13 points subject to some wordsmithing by Sandy.
Correct.
Okay. Does anybody else want to comment on that motion?
John, before you move for me, just one point. I referenced it at the beginning, but and Brooke just referenced it again. My motion does include inclusion of the TA's letter.
Okay.
It was really an email, it's not a letter.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm now just feeling a lot of pressure, that's all. I may have stepped into this a little more than I
I think
intended
you're
to.
up to the task.
You're up for it, Sandy.
I have every
I know you can
confidence in you, Sam.
John, there's a number of
Yes.
people who have their hand raised.
Yeah.
Kristen and
And I
Richard.
can't
don't-
see him because of the
I know. I know.
the,
Can I
whatever.
throw out there too, just this one thing quickly from an administrative standpoint?
Mhm.
You know, you could reconvene you have time. You could reconvene in a week and look at it again, if that gives comfort to whoever's been tasked with writing it.
Okay,
Just a thought, okay?
good point. I heard Kristen, I can't see, but Kristen, do you want to speak to the motion?
Yeah, so just so I understand, at one point we had talked about getting rid of all the back and forth of how we got to this situation and just stating the two facts, like you said, John, number 1 and number 8. So now we're back to including all of these items with some tweaks on the language, but we're still going to be laying out all those points of how this came about. I don't necessarily think that's necessary after hearing this discussion. I think it is better to just lay out the areas in 1 and 8 and 9, I guess. I would have liked to have seen like all of the motions that we're being asked to vote on up front before making a decision. So I do like Joanne's recommendation that we come back after we have this all laid out the way we want it next week. So I'm a little confused. I like these points, but I don't necessarily think it's necessary to include everything. So I don't know how I should vote in that situation.
Okay, thank you. I can't see hands. Is there another hand up, Joanne?
Yeah, Mayan.
Okay,
Why
Rich.
don't you take down the letter unless you need it still up?
Rich.
Yeah. The only thing I'd like to have added to this is where it says one member that was there would be put my name because Justin already did that. And I was the member that was at the meeting first of all, and when the other fours walked in. So I would kindly like to have my name instead of having another member was there, the fifth member was there. It was my name there, and I would doing so because I am running for selectman.
I think that goes to what Sandy was saying earlier.
Right.
You want to be specific. So not only do we include your name, but
Right.
Paul and Ken and Jim and
Right.
whoever else.
But I also go along with having this revamped and readdressing this next week.
Okay.
Because to vote on this tonight like this is not feasible in my eyes. And I won't vote on it.
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer doing that just because I definitely want everyone's buy-in to it.
Thank you, Sandy.
And it may end up being like two versions or something, because I think I'm trying to listen and note what's going on and try to, make it so next time we can really have a final discussion and move along with it. That's all.
Ken, sorry, I'm trying to write this down.
Okay. First of all, I concur strongly with Rich and Sandy that we should revisit this in a more finished form next week. But in light of removing things that are not needed, point 2 is not needed as well, because point 1 says that there was no time for the point 1 says that it was a very quick impromptu meeting by all, and at least all of the CPC members, and the point about not doing the public notice is irrelevant, and it's beside the point. So eliminate number 2 as well.
I'm supportive of that.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. I'm not seeing any other hands for comments. I'll stick with 1 and 8. And if you do include a definition that's from 9, that definition comes from Mass General Law. And that's referenced as well. Okay.
So
I just added 1 to the meeting.
Do I withdraw my motion, John, and let Sandy take what I have drafted and create 1 or 2 versions of this letter for us then to review in a week's time and discuss and make a decision on? I'd be happy to do that if you think that's what we
Point
should
of
do.
order.
Okay,
Point of order.
Jim, before I answer you.
If maybe what we should do is to end the meeting now, seeing that this has got to be something that has to be decided, all together. I know I can wait for the next meeting to come up with my complaint form. I also had another thought, is that if we really wanted to do both things, all right, listen to me, we could pass my complaint form through, then the open meeting law official in the Attorney General's task force is done. And at the same time, we can take what Paul has put this work through and said, in this situation, would this have been an open meeting? And then if it was not, then they let me out of CPC jail.
I think we can only do one response to the Attorney General, because if we're giving them 2 different responses, I think that would be confusing.
Well, what I was saying is that 1 response and then 1 request for information.
You mean from the Attorney General?
Sure.
Because they're not going to give you requests for information. They're going to rule. They're going to give you their opinion.
Right. Just one, Jim, if you don't want to go forward with your complaint, just withdraw your complaint.
No, I want to go forward, but the bottom line is.
Okay, if you want to go forward with your complaint, we're going to answer the complaint. If you don't want to cause a big commotion, I get it. I understand everything you're saying, but you're the moving party here. You and Justin are the moving party because the town administrator said if you didn't do it, he was going to do it. In my mind, if you and Justin didn't do it, the town administrator, he may or may not have done it. You've done his work for him. If you don't want to do that, rescind it. But if you want to continue with it, I feel we have to respond to it. So if you don't want to do it, don't do it. But don't
No, I
ask us
do.
not to respond, and then you're going to put in something that we violated.
No. You don't misunderstand. My complaint will stand. It's up to the committee to decide whether or not it goes forward. I understand that. But I want to keep it viable until I get a vote up or a vote down. All I want to do is to take all of this off the table, have it over with, and let us do our business. That's what I want to do.
Then you could rescind your complaint.
No, I will not.
Can I ask a procedural question?
Yes.
Jim, if you file a complaint, though, the committee has to respond to it, is my understanding. I'm getting
Right.
very confused on how you can file a complaint, and then are you saying you're going to respond to it? I mean,
No.
there's two, right? There's two complaints right now, and the committee needs to respond to those complaints.
I believe that what's going on is that there are, for all intent and purposes, is that there are 3 responses that are in the works. And we still have time to figure out how we are going to go forward as a committee. Mine and Justin's have been brought forward with a complaint form. Paul is basically doing the same thing. He's making the statement that he wants to get information to decide if this happened.
No, Jim, I think you and Justin have filed a complaint with the committee and the town clerk saying
Right.
X happened. It's a complaint. The committee now has to take those complaints and write a response to you and to Justin. And I believe that's why Justin has recused himself. Justin, jump in here and tell me if I'm wrong, because he can't really respond to his own complaint. It would be like, so.
Does anybody catch on what we're doing? It's like having a 4-hour CPC meeting. This is absolutely ridiculous. This is not what we do on this committee. Let's just put it behind us. I'll take the blame. I'll do the paperwork.
That's what we're trying to do, Jim. We're trying to. Yeah, the process is what it is. You can't change the process. You have to follow what's on there. You filed a complaint. Justin has filed a complaint. The committee has to respond to your complaint. That's how the process works. And, we're trying to, as a committee, decide how we're going to respond to that.
Sandy, you have your hand raised.
I actually, this is a little different is I want to talk about schedule and just kind of respond to what Kristen was talking about as far as getting things ahead of time. So I was thinking, and just based on my workload at the moment, I'll have to do this weekend. So my goal was to be sending out drafts on Sunday night. So I just want to kind of think about that process so people can be able to take a look at it and briefly discuss how we want to kind of streamline this process so that when we meet next time, everyone's had a chance to look at it and have comments ready, just so that we can be a little bit more efficient. That's all. So first question is this going to be same time next week, or in me getting it done by, Sunday night? Does that work?
Can I just comment?
Paul?
I have my hand up. So Sandy, first of all, I am so sorry that you're going to spend your weekend doing this, and I really appreciate the fact that you are stepping up to do that. So thank you. I think Sunday would be fine. I think it would be a lot more efficient if we've had a chance to review it. Just looking at my calendar, we'd be talking about the 13th. Is that correct? If we do it a week from today, it'd be the 13th, and I can make that work.
And I just wanted to know, do we have to post this for
Yes.
the next meeting? Okay. I wanted to make sure. Just
Are you trying to
point
be,
you-
you trying to be Jim Gallagher? What's going on?
He's rubbing off on me.
I'm also available next Wednesday, but
Okay.
I'm available Wednesday.
I have to go out to my refrigerator and look at the calendar.
Okay.
Talk to the cat.
I'm in.
Available.
Okay. Ken?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So we're just checking with Jim's calendar and then,
We'll do this on Zoom again or?
right.
Okay.
I mean, if you do it in person, then I won't be there.
Okay.
And the
Yeah.
hybrid meetings, as we saw our last meeting, that technology is horrific. You know, when the people that are remote can't hear anything, you know, it makes for a difficult environment, to say the least.
Say, just for myself, I will say I would love in person and hybrid, but only if we can get room A, which is unlikely.
I think we get bumped for other meetings and go up to F. Jim,
I
what'd you find out?
Yeah, Zoom is fine with me. 13th is good.
Okay, so Jim, so we will schedule the meeting, next meeting Wednesday, April 13th at 7. Sandy will have maybe 2.
yeah, I'll try. Yeah, I don't know. Once I get into it, yeah, I'll do a light and you know, yeah, we'll come up with something.
And Jim, are you going to have, this is where the awkwardness is, and I think this is what Joanne was saying, that you can't really respond to your own complaint. Do you understand what that's, the committee has to respond to you, you're
I
not
understand.
responding
Oh,
to yourself.
no, I understand that. But even if I could vote, I'd certainly vote for my own.
Well, certainly, that's,
Jim, I appreciate your frustration that we are in this.
Justin,
And you know, if I could just add one, because I know Justin and
Sorry,
I have both
I tried.
filed. Well, I was still talking, Justin. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All I was gonna say is I'm not sure there's anything necessarily inappropriate about Jim putting forward a draft for a response that the committee approves as a committee. I personally am choosing to recuse myself because I think I was trying to be a little more formal, and that's just my choice. But I don't feel there's anything necessarily inappropriate about Jim putting forward a draft.
I didn't say it was inappropriate. I just said
No,
it makes it very awkward.
Yeah,
It's,
I just felt
Yeah,
like I
and
wanted to share
Justin,
that
I
with you.
think if that's your idea of formal, then stay out of the prom.
sorry if
Can
this
I-
is all going over my head.
All right, well, listen, so we're just basically going to stop here and go back and pick this up next Wednesday. Is that right?
Yes, but we have a motion on the table unless Paul, did you officially withdraw your motion, Paul?
I'll withdraw my motion with the understanding that Sandy is going to wordsmith the document I provided and that she will send out copies of what she has come up with, whether it's 1 or 2 versions, so that the committee will have an opportunity to review that ahead of our meeting next Wednesday, the 13th, at which time we can make a decision as to how we proceed.
So Sandy's going to work on the
Hold on,
draft.
I can withdraw my.
Your hand's not up. You're
It
not
was up, and
recognized.
John, I had the second. You can't go forward unless I withdraw the second.
Okay, well, I'm talking. Sorry.
Okay.
Sandy is going to work on, yeah, well, sorry. You're going to be chairman, you can run the meeting. Sandy's going to draft these and we'll send them to Joanne, and Joanne will forward them to everyone so everybody has an opportunity to see them, okay? Brooke, would you like to speak? Since you seconded the motion, as you so adeptly pointed out.
I was trying to withdraw the second since Paul withdrew the motion. That was all I was doing. I guess now that you called me, I have one quick question. And I don't know how it all works, but because Justin and Jim are both on the committee, and I know Justin recused himself, but he keeps speaking, and Jim has not recused himself, which I think he probably should have. Are we sharing all this stuff with them in addition? I mean, I just don't know how it all works. Are they going to be able to comment on the letter we're responding to their complaint about?
We have not entered our complaint. Both of us are certainly entitled to speak. There's only been one motion that has been raised. I have not entered my motion yet, nor has Justin. So that's why I think both of us are certainly eligible for this discussion.
Okay, I guess I wouldn't disagree with you if that's the case, but that's not my understanding. Justin sent his already to the Attorney General. So his is
But
already
that was
in.
an error. That was an error, and the Attorney General told him, no, you got to go back and do this, what we're doing right now. So we're good.
Okay, so just so I know, no complaints have been filed so far.
Correct.
2 complaints have been filed.
Yeah, I don't think you're right, Jim.
Yeah.
They
it has
haven't been
filed.
entered. They haven't been entered. The motions have not been made.
Okay,
John, you've received 2. Okay, you've received 2 complaint forms,
Right.
and we still haven't addressed mine or Justin's.
I think you're confusing a few things here. We don't have to vote on your complaint. You can make a complaint without our vote. And I think Justin has made a complaint. And up until now, I thought you had made a complaint.
Okay, but I would just, if I could, that's not true. When I make a complaint, it's got to go to the committee, and then the committee has to hear the complaint.
You've already
Nothing
sent
should
it.
have gone to the Attorney General yet.
You did submit a complaint and it was provided to us and I've reviewed it. I think
Okay,
you and Justin both have filed a complaint. It hasn't, other than Justin inadvertently didn't follow the procedure. Yours did not yet go to the Attorney General's office.
Nor should it.
Right,
should it.
you did the process appropriately. So we have the ability now to, not the ability, the obligation to respond to that complaint. And
Correct.
then you can review what we say, determine at that point whether you're satisfied with our response or not. And if you're not, at that point, you can then submit it to the Attorney General. That process was not followed by Justin because he forwarded it already to the Attorney General's office. They've in turn responded and said that he didn't follow the process, that we have 14 days to be able to respond to it. So he still will, when our response is sent, will have the ability to either say, no, I'm satisfied or I'm not. And if he's not, at that point, he forwards it off to the Attorney General's office and it goes from there. But we have to respond to both of your complaints because you have filed them. You filed
That's
them
right.
with the town.
No one's saying anything different than that, Paul.
All right, well, that's
No
not
one's
what I
saying
did.
anything. Well, then listen. Here's what's going on is that all we've discussed so far in this meeting has been your proposition.
Mine is a
right.
response to the complaints that were filed. We're talking about
Exactly.
how we're going to respond to it. Yours, what
Exactly.
you submitted is a complaint. It's not a response to a complaint. It's a complaint.
Exactly. But it hasn't been brought up yet.
Yes.
You took the floor first. That's fine.
I was
And all
responding
this
to
time-
both, Jim. Both
Pardon me?
complaints. I was responding to both complaints. I've reviewed your complaint. I'm assuming everyone else on this committee has reviewed your complaint because they were sent to us by Joanne. So we
Right.
reviewed them. So no, I didn't bring up the specific language. She didn't put it on the screen, nor did she put up Justin's, but we've all seen it. And so
Okay,
now what I
fine.
was
But
putting forward.
just listen to me for a minute, please, please.
Yes,
All right. The meeting started, and you were what the hell's the word I'm looking for? You were recognized. Okay. And that's when you began your presentation about what you think we should do, okay? Now, there should have been 3 parts, knowing what we know now, is that, well, you started talking about what you think we should do. And then the second part would be addressing the complaint that I sent in. Now, just because we've discussed it doesn't mean that it's been entered into this meeting that has been called to order, nor has Justin's. So all I'm saying is that if we just take a break right now, then we pick this up next Wednesday and finish up your end, and then we can do mine and then Justin's.
I'm not following that at all, Jim. If you want us to read your complaint and read Justin's complaint, open it so that we can say that we've all opened them and discussed them, fine, I'm happy to do that. But I don't think it's
with the
necessary
full
when it's already
knowledge,
been presented.
with the full knowledge that everyone has already said, okay, we're coming back here next Wednesday. So what
Yeah,
does
but I
that
don't
say that
wanna-
I'm going to get any kind of reasonable discussion about my proposal? None. So what I'm saying, let's wait.
Well, so
I'm in
let's
no hurry.
let's do this. Because we
Not a
want to be
proposal.
productive next week. So why don't we open Jim's complaint, review it, let him say what he wants to say. We can do the same with Justin's. Justin's not going to talk to his because he's accused himself, but we can certainly open it and say or ask if anyone has questions or wants to make comment on it.
Jim, do you have a response to your complaint for us?
I've sent it to you.
No, that's your complaint. What
Yeah.
you're talking about is the response, because that's what our job is as the
The committee
accused.
will respond
Well,
to me.
we did. I mean, that's what Paul sent me an email saying this is his response. This is the response from the committee. 13 points. That's the response. And that's what the committee, or that's what CPC was going to vote on. We decided not to vote on it. We decided to let Sandy work on the language that Paul drafted.
I understand all of that, John. I swear to God, I
So then
understand
I'm
every
lost.
single
We're
word.
all kind of lost on this.
Okay, then let me just say it one more time, all right? My complaint form has not been, I have not been recognized to address my complaint form yet. How's that, if I just leave it at that?
Right. I
That's
think-
not the
I
process.
think typically, if I can interject, I think typically what would, if Evan had filed the complaint would have come to the committee and to the town clerk. And the committee would have read the complaint and had the discussion that you all have had tonight. I don't know that Evan would have come to the meeting to outline the complaint because he filed the complaint. You filed the complaint. I believe everyone read it and it will be attached to the meeting minutes. Is it that, Jim, you wanted to walk everybody through the complaint and explain it to them?
No, I just want to keep it alive here because I think I'm just obnoxious enough to think that we should still do this. That's all.
Well,
You know
I
what,
think so,
Jim?
but Jim, I think, I'm sorry, I think procedurally, the committee is in that the committee has 2 complaints, yours and Justin's. The committee, one committee member took the initiative and came up with some points as a way to kind of jump off on creating the response. The committee has reviewed those points, had much discussion about them, has decided the best thing is to ask another committee member to take those points and this discussion and come up with 1 or 2 versions of a response that can be given to both your complaint, Jim, and Justin's complaint.
Okay, but that hasn't even been voted on.
We're going to vote on it next meeting, Jim, after we've had a chance to review what
If
you
you
presented.
like-
Okay,
I mean-
so that's what I'm saying.
The committee can certainly take a vote right now and say, there's the wait, did you? Maybe you did. Oh God, I lost track of the minutes. But
We withdrew, or I withdrew.
you withdrew
my
the
motion.
initial one, but you could certainly put one on the floor that says, so-and-so makes a motion to ask Sandy to draft a couple versions and send them out on Sunday and the
I think
committee
I
will then
did
meet
that
on
when I
Wednesday.
withdrew it. When I withdrew it, I made that point that I was withdrawing it with that. You need
Because
me
of
to
wasn't
make
that,
a
a vote.
for that
motion.
reason.
There
Okay,
wasn't a vote for that.
I'm
It
sorry,
was
I'll be
just-
quiet now.
I'm happy to make a motion if that would clarify things, Jim, for you. So
No, this is just this is obscene. This is just an obscene abortion of what we do as the CPC. It's a shame. You know what we can do? Why don't I make my complaint, all right? And then you can vote yay or nay, and then I'll be out of your hair. How's that?
So you're going to
Jim,
make
you
a
already
motion.
Made your complaint. It's already
Excuse
been
me, Mr.
filed.
Chairman.
Submitted it to the town.
Wait just a minute.
I didn't
Jim?
hear you, Paul.
Jim, do you want to make a motion? Is that what you're saying?
Sure.
Okay. Jim has the floor.
I would like to make a motion that the complaint form, which you have seen, be agreed upon by this committee so that we can get back to the business that we do. It's very brief, and it says the Grafton Select Board meeting had an agenda item concerning the CPC membership. The CPC had not been advised about this item. 3 of us went to the meeting to observe the action item. As it turned out, another member of the CPC, who was a candidate for Select Board, was there to audit the meeting. During the CPC discussion, another CPC member came into the hearing hall. I did not notice the 5th member. A quorum now existed. Until it was too late, a violation had already taken place. I am the ranking member of the CPC. I take full responsibility for this accidental open meeting violation. And what I am suggesting we do is in the future, I need to be better at auditing the members of my committee attending a meeting with another committee.
Okay. So that's your complaint. What is your motion?
My motion is that the board accept this complaint and send it forward to the Attorney General. The thing I left out is the specific person I allege who committed the violation is me. The date of the violation is March 22nd, and I'll just point out that even though you didn't receive it later, my complaint was filed on March 25th. Okay,
Okay.
so that's it. Does anyone have any questions?
I do.
Paul.
Or I think I'm starting to understand where you're coming from, Jim. Are you saying that you want us to, instead of you proceeding further with your complaint, to have us as a group file your complaint as our complaint? Is that what you're
No.
asking for?
No, what I'm saying is that this stands alone. I would like the committee to agree with my complaint so that this can be sent to the Attorney General and all of this will be over. All of it will be over.
Jim, that is not the process. So you've got a complaint.
Oh, I disagree completely. It most certainly is.
Mr.
Jim.
Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
Rich, there you are. Rich has the floor.
Okay, I'd like to kind of clarify something here. First of all, Jim, I respect you very much, but we have to let the process work out. The way it is we got your complaint and Justin's complaint. You both sent them in. We're reviewing them. We have to come to a consensus without you and Justin to come up with what is the next step. And then what we have to do is turn around and then we file it like it says right here in the paperwork. We have to send a copy to the Attorney General, answer your questions, and then to the town clerk and everything else. So it is a little bit more procedural than just saying, send it off. We can't just send it off. We have to agree as a committee to circumstance this I'm sorry about that.
Oh, you're right.
But we have to circumvent this in the right way and to get it all done in a timely manner that we have.
And what I've said
Wait a
here
minute, wait a
is
minute,
that-
wait a minute. I still got the floor, sir. Please, 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 Jim. I want to get this done as fast as possible as you do. Okay, you submitted the form. We all received it, if I'm not mistaken, because I have it. And we're acting on it now. And what we need to do is gather a little bit more information. And Sandy's going to do a couple of drafts for us kindly. And I highly respect her for doing this on such short notice and taking her weekend for doing this. And I thank her for doing this. And then we'll reconvene here on next Wednesday at 7 o'clock, and we can make our motion of what we can do next and go from there. But I also would like to end this before I make a message to adjourn. What I would like to do, make a motion, is go back, all of us, and watch the tape of that night. And we can get.
Oh, no, absolutely, no, I'm interrupting. Absolutely not. And I'll tell you why. And this is a point that when we came to it in Justin's filing that I think that needs to be changed. If you were not there, you did not hear the commotion that was going on around the table. The thing that Justin points out is that Colleen was continuing to talk about open meeting. What you need to remember is that Colleen had a microphone in front of her. What Justin and anyone looking at the tape will hear is they will hear the voice that's projected in that microphone. We didn't have that advantage when there was people on either side of me who were talking at the same time. So no, don't look at it again, because it's not an actual representation of what happened. It should be done by someone who was there.
I've watched the tape multiple times. What I put in my points is what happened. So,
Okay, I'm done.
Well, I'd like to make a
Done.
motion that we adjourn until next Wednesday, 7 p.m.
second.
Do I have a second?
Okay.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn.
No
Kristen,
discussion on it. Yeah.
there is no
Aye.
discussion. Kristen,
Aye.
Sandy,
Yes.
Jim,
Just pointing out that my motion was never voted on, and now you're adjourning. So sure, let's adjourn because no one's.
Well, you didn't
okay,
get a
okay,
second.
that's my
You didn't
mistake,
get a
Jim.
second.
That's
You
your,
didn't get a second.
well,
No, yes.
nope, Jim, you're right. I'm sorry.
I'll rescind my,
Rich.
my
we're
adjournment.
premature. Wait, this is why I ask you guys to let me recognize you. Everybody's talking all over the place and it's really hard to follow it. So my apologies. Jim has a motion that we respond to his complaint saying the committee is accepting his responsibility for the violation. I have a motion for that. Is that correct, Jim?
All right, but it's not been seconded, so I will
Nope,
withdraw
nope,
it
nope.
until next week.
So you want to withdraw it?
Until next week, yes.
Okay, back to Rich.
Yes.
You may have a motion.
No. I make the motion that we adjourn till next Wednesday night at 7 p.m.
Second.
And I have a second by Paul Scarlett. Kristen,
Aye.
Sandy,
Aye.
Jim,
I'm gonna say aye, but I pray to God that this doesn't alienate us against each other. All right? We don't need that, but yes, aye.
Ken.
Aye.
Brooke,
Aye.
Jim.
Bill, aye.
I'm sorry. It's,
John.
I can't remember. I can't. Sorry. Paul.
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
sorry, Justin,
Aye.
Stevens, aye. Motion to adjourn passes.